back, everybody, to Awaken the Best You with Misty Springer. I'm your co-host, Anna Levin, and today, welcome, Misty, first of all.
Thank you. Happy to be here. Always excited for these days and these conversations. We always have such fun conversations.
Yes, I'm excited too about this one. Hits home for many of us moms, women, working women of all ages. It's keeping it simple. Really?
Exactly.
Because
Really?
how many times we have heard this, or we've been coached, etc., etc. There are shows to keeping it simple. There's movements to simplicity and decluttering and etc.
Yeah,
But
I know. Look above me. My sign.
simplify. Oh, that's right.
Simplify.
I didn't even realize.
I have a sign in my office even to try to remind myself of that.
And it feels like this is not a destination, it's rather an ongoing practice, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So keeping it simple. Why? First of all, why? Before we get into the how, like why would we want to actually keep it simple? And what does that
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Yeah, and that I was reminded of it today, this morning, because we as women, I talk with so many women, and what we want more than anything is peace. Peace in our bodies, peace in our minds, peace in our hearts. We want to feel at peace. We want to feel like we're showing up in the world as who we're meant to be, that we are stepping into this purpose that we have, that we feel, that we sense within us. And we want to know with peace that we are who we are. We're showing up in the world doing what we were born to do. And so when we're looking for peace, oftentimes we're looking for it in the doing. We're looking for it we're trying to find peace in our body by making it look a certain way. Like when I lose 10 pounds, then I'll feel peace in my body. When I stop eating sugar, then I'll feel peace in my body. When I get up and actually exercise when I say I'm going to, then I'll feel peace and confident in my body. We look for it in our mind.
Why do you think we do
all
that?
Of it.
Why? Because this is so true. I can relate to this all the time. And as I'm sure people listening in can relate as well. Why do you think the human being does this whole like, well, I can't do it right now. I'll do it because we do it not only with peace, we do it with everything, with happiness, with success. I'll be successful when, I'll be happy when. Why do we do this?
I believe that because we are designed to want more. We're designed to want to grow and to move into the next stage. And so when we feel like we are not becoming who we know, we have a sense of this woman we know in our heart we were born to be, but we're not showing up that way, we start to feel that gap. And that gap is that discontent, right? So we want to show up in this way, but we don't. And so we feel this discontent.
So we overcomplicate life, and then it's the opposite of simple. It's not a simple life anymore.
Right. What we try to do, we're trying to find that peace through the doing. That's how we've tricked ourselves into thinking we're going to find peace. So if I just stay busy enough, then I feel accomplished. If I check off all my to-do list, then I feel accomplished, and then I'm worth it, and that will bring me peace.
Yes.
And if I just if I stick to my diet perfectly, then I'm going to lose 10 pounds, then I will feel worth it, and then I will be at peace.
Yes.
And the reason I believe that it never works for us is because it's a false belief. It's not true. And so we're not going to find truth there. Truth is that peace comes from what we do within, and not from what we do from the outside.
So which brings us back to like why keeping it simple, really? Because I think what we need to simplify many times is not so much even the doing, is our heads, is our thoughts, right? because many of us feel overwhelmed and we don't even know another way. For me, I can tell you personally, I've been trying to undo a lot of the programming and stories that I have created for myself over the years, and now really realizing that my road to peace is to simplify. Simplifying doesn't mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, but for me it doesn't mean, stop doing what we need to do.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean like, oh yeah,
Absolutely.
you know what, I have a family and I could care less, I'm not going to take care of them. No, it's quite the opposite. It's actually, how do I actually simplify within the responsibilities that I have so that I can
Exactly.
have more peace, right?
And that's exactly where this conversation is directed. Yeah, it's not about saying I'm going to be sitting on my floor meditating because I'm keeping it simple. That's not real, and that's not possible. And honestly, that isn't what brings us peace.
Right.
What brings us peace is fulfilling the responsibility. So being a great mom, taking care of your body, um, going and doing good things in the world, that brings a tremendous amount of peace too. It's just, where is the motivation coming from? Is the motivation coming from, I have to do this in order to feel worthy? Or is the motivation coming from, I'm showing up in the way that I want to show up? So a really good example of this, and I think that this, we can talk up here all we want, but it's really hard to kind of understand what this is all about until we get down to the nitty gritty.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, exactly what you're saying. We have to simplify our thoughts. It's not about looking at our schedule. And I was talking with a good friend of mine and she said, I am so busy, but I look at my schedule and I have no idea what I'm going to pull out. Like, what do I give up? I've got my kids, I've got my job, I've got my responsibilities in the community, I'm got my responsibilities at church. Everything is a good thing. What do I give up? And that's really what we're looking at. We're not talking about giving up. Absolutely, yes, we've got to kind of take a look at our schedule and see if there's things that are not in service to us. And we need to take a look at our thoughts. And we need to say, what's the story that I'm telling myself that's keeping me in this feeling of busy when it doesn't need to be? What are the thoughts that are keeping me away from peace? So a good example of this, the other day, I was talking with a good friend of mine, and I could hear as she was talking with me that she was on a walk, and I could hear birds chirping in the background, and I could hear like leaves crunching under her feet. And immediately the thought came to me like, oh, she's so lucky. Like, she is so lucky. Like, she gets to have this simple walk out in nature, and
Yeah.
I can't have that. I'm just way too busy. And you know, that's the story, right? I'm too
Yes.
busy. I can't have that. I can't give myself permission to have that because I'm too busy. But when I really looked at it, I was like, wait a minute. Let's take a look at this story. Am I too busy? And why am I not giving myself permission to have this? And the busy was because I felt like if I checked off A, B, and C, then I'm worth it, right?
Right.
And so that's what made me feel like I can't give myself permission to go out and take a walk because I have to accomplish A, B, and C, because if I don't, then I'm not worth it. And that's scary.
It's
Right?
so important. That's super scary because it's your whole identity, right? And I think it's so important. This is such a crucial point, and I don't want people to miss it, because it's not about the story, the initial story that we tell ourselves. That's just the surface. But when we actually have the courage, like you did, to dive deeper into what the story that you're telling yourself is, and the actual reason why you're not allowing yourself to go on a walk, because a 10-minute walk is not going to throw you off your efficiency, your productivity. If anything, it's going to only increase it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
You'll be more relaxed, you'll be more centered, you'll be like just feel better overall.
Exactly.
Anyway, so I think
that's exactly what I did. I mean, it was once I saw the story, and I think that that's the most important piece, is that once I saw the story, I was able to write a different ending. But I had to see the story first.
Mm-hmm.
And what awoke me to the story was the discontent. It was the, oh, isn't that so nice? I mean, she gets to have it, but I don't, you know? So there is that piece of the discontent that can wake us up. You know, the
Yes.
pain can wake us up and say, wait a minute, there's a story going on here. Let's take a look at what that is and go a little deeper to find out if that's really true.
Yeah, it's so important to actually understand our sensory, self. It's what I always say, our feelings, and they're talking to us all the time. There's on one level, there's no right or wrong. There's a neutrality to our feelings. They're actually trying to point us in the right direction, in that
Mm-hmm.
peace that we're talking about, and that simplicity.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think it's a beautiful practice, and it starts with awareness, and like you said, identifying, okay, I get to write a different ending. I don't have
Mm-hmm.
to do the same thing that I was doing before. But if we are, many times we are unable to see those blind spots. And that's why working with someone like yourself,
Mm-hmm.
it's so beautiful, because you can really mirror back to us where we're telling ourselves stories that could be written in a different manner.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong if somebody wants, they're fine being overwhelmed and feeling busy, and like, that's fine. But if you're in your heart, you want more, you want more peace, you want more simplicity, you want to enjoy what you're doing, whether you're volunteering in the community or you're with your spouse or with your children,
Mm-hmm.
um, and getting really real. And that can be a little scary,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. We do, understanding why we do what we do is, it's not always pleasant or
Mm-hmm.
comfortable. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I have a huge thing like that with my children, and the identity that I have as a mom. I mean, my joke now that I have teenagers is like, can you just make something up for me to sign up so that I can fulfill my motherhood? And it's a joke, but it's not really a joke. It's like
Yeah.
me saying, okay, you know what, they're growing up, and it's okay. And so,
Mm-hmm.
it's good to look at, the stories that we tell ourselves. And my identity, as I continue to grow, they grow, I grow, we all
Mm-hmm.
change. And how do I accept that change?
Mm-hmm.
So can you
Yeah.
tell me, like some of the pointers, or so, like when you're working with people in this regard, like these stories and this creating more peace and simplicity, do you have anything that comes to your heart right now to give us advice?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it goes back to the first thing that we talked about, which is awareness. So, it's it's why I still get coaching, because we are all born with stories. The story is not the problem. The story, not being aware of the story and having it run the show, that's the problem, because then we don't feel like we're making the choices. The story is making the choice for us. So
Mm-hmm.
if I had been living in the story of I'm too busy, I can't go on a walk, then I lived out that story without even realizing it. I mean, I lived that story for years without even realizing it. But it wasn't until I was aware of the story that I was able to question it and see, is that really true? No, it's not true. But I had to have that awareness in order to see the story. And so that's the first step, is just, and one of the really big tips, and you mentioned it as well, that of when you're in a story, is the feelings that are surrounding it. So my feeling of, oh, isn't that, comparison,
Mm-hmm.
she's got it all together, she's able to go on a walk because she made time in her schedule, right? Like that comparison, that feeling of, oh, I can't have that. And
Yeah.
that feeling can come up in a variety of different ways, but that feeling was simply there to let me know that there was a false story going on,
Mm-hmm.
and to take a look. So when you're in a situation where you're starting to feel some of those feelings that um, are not a positive vibration, they're a lower vibration emotion, it's just an opportunity to pay attention. So
Yes.
take a look inside. That's the first step, is awareness. The second step is to just question. And the question is just, what do I need to let go of? What thoughts do I need to let go of? What's the story I need to shift? Is it true? So when you're in this questioning state, you're taking yourself out of judgment and into curiosity. And curiosity is what creates growth and change and rewriting the ending. Because if we're in shame, we're stuck in the story.
Mm-hmm.
If we're in curiosity, then we're able to look and see, oh, is it true? I don't know. Let's see if we can rewrite a different ending.
Yeah. I mean, these are really beautiful advice and deep work, because I think many of us, if not everybody at some level, and I am still trying to figure it out, why, if I ever will, why is it that as human beings we have this negative self-talk, self-sabotage, lack of self-love, um, because like, I mean, the body is talking to us, so why is it that we don't do what we already intuitively know, what we physically feel, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's really, really interesting. And so for me, there's no better way than to support each other, and that's, you know, to do the work together, and to know that we're not alone in it, and to have the courage to actually all choose differently and choose a different ending, like you said, you know, which is beautiful. And the more we practice that, then the stronger it gets, and the relationship with ourselves becomes better and more intimate. So, but it's fascinating.
Yeah, I think that's exactly why we do self-sabotage. When you say, you know, why do we self-sabotage? Why do we not take care of ourselves when we say that we want to? It's exactly what you just said, because in the process of learning how to truly listen to our bodies and our emotions and our hearts, we do get to know ourselves. And it's only by going through the pain that we understand ourselves better. That's just, it's part of human experience, part of the journey. And as we continue to say, no, I'm not listening over here, I'm choosing a different path, a different story, I'm choosing to see things differently, that's when we do get to know ourselves a little bit better.
Yes, I think that's such a huge word, choose. Choose, and the word yes also. You know, saying yes, like, yes, I feel like I wish I could do what my friend is doing right now. And I'm not going to make myself wrong for it. I mean, I'm happy for my friend, and I'm feeling what I'm feeling, and not making ourselves wrong. Just saying yes to this. Okay. Let's think about this.
Exactly. Where am I not giving myself permission to have this?
Yes.
Because I'm every bit as worthy of a walk as she is. You know, there's, you know,
everybody can walk, guys. I'm just kidding.
Moral of the story. Go for a walk today.
That's wonderful. Well, I love it. So keeping it simple, really, yes, really, everybody. It's necessary in order to achieve the peace that we're seeking. And that's what, Misty, you were saying, that right on the other side of this work and this courage to look at what the stories that we create is exactly what we're looking for. Which is the paradox, right? A little bit.
Yeah. On the other side, we have to go through the pain in order to find what we want on the other side. But that's also the beautiful opportunity, is to be pulled forward by that desire. So my desire to go on a walk pulled me through the pain and allowed me to see what was on the other side. So hold on to those desires. It's a beautiful thing. That word yes is a beautiful thing. Doesn't mean you're selfish. It just means that you're honoring the yes and honoring the desire. And on the other side, that's what's pulling you through the pain, is that desire.
And sometimes, and I want to encourage everybody that is listening, because sometimes we are working through really deep, you know, wounds, and it's just, for me, and this is just my opinion, I would not have been able to overcome the obstacles and the deep wounds that I had it not been for people like yourself. It's the honest truth. So we can think that we're superheroes, but you know, we're beautifully ordinary. That's what we say here in my house. And there's something extraordinary to knowing that we are ordinary. And so I really encourage everybody, because people might be listening, that's why we named the show Keeping It Simple. Really, people might be listening and saying like, well, that's wonderful, going on a walk, and that's just kind of like simple. I was actually raped, or I was whatever, right? Or I had massive death in my family, or whatever huge thing happened. Then we really need someone, and again, this is just my humble opinion, but with the love and guidance of someone that can hold the space and guide you, that's how we overcome it, and then we pay it forward. So reach out to Misty if you feel in your heart.
And it, if even if it is a little thing, it can be a little thing or a big thing. We all have stories that we're telling ourselves, and they get in the way of us showing up as the woman we know in our heart we're meant to be. And that's what my great privilege and my great honor to do with the women that I work with, is to help them see and feel that woman who they know in their heart they were born to be. That's the beautiful gift that I get to participate in, is to help women see that in themselves and to feel that, and to make decisions from that place.
Yeah. And it's also you're so candid and vulnerable. It doesn't mean that you understand it, because it's also your trajectory. And that's what makes it so powerful. It's like, we want to talk to someone that actually walked those steps, and it continues to walk those steps, and yet has the strength and the knowledge to help us through it. So the best of both worlds. So that's awesome. So if people want to, I know that you offer a free, get to know session.
Yep.
How do they reach you?
It's a discovery session. It's 45 minutes to an hour, and it really is an opportunity to discover what is there for you. What do you want? What's holding you back? What's stopping you? Why are you self-sabotaging? What are those stories that you're telling yourself? Just a beautiful opportunity to get more of that awareness that we were talking about, which is that first step that's so critical for any kind of change. So reach out to me. I'm on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Misty Springer Wellness. I'm available. You can message me, or you can go on my website, mistyspringer.com, and there's a box. If you scroll down to the bottom of my homepage that says sign up for a session with Misty. So
yes,
that's my favorite thing to do, is to meet women who just want more for themselves, and to help them see that.
Beautiful, beautiful. Reach out, everybody. If you feel it in your heart, don't be shy. I always tell people, just like, if you feel it, act on it, and then that's how life transforms. It will never be the same. So awesome.
That's where the magic happens.
Yes, exactly. Right on the other side of the pain. Well, in the meantime, this was amazing. Everybody keep it simple or try to keep it simple. And thank you so, so much for this wonderful conversation, Misty.
Thank you.
See you in the next one.
Yep.